Okay, let's start winding this up here and come to a conclusion, bring it kind of back to you. Right now you're running against each other, and I'm going to give you 3 minutes to kind of toot your own whistle, so to speak. What advantages you might have against, first, your opponent, standing across from you, but more important than that is how do you stand up against Matheson, and how would you leverage your leadership against Jim? So let's go ahead and go. Let's go 3 minutes on this, because there's kind of 2 questions in it, and I'm actually merging several audience questions with that. So
these are not closing remarks, right?
No, not yet. Next one.
Okay, let me make the clearest distinction I can. I believe that this particular primary, or the state convention race, whichever it ends up being, will be a referendum on backgrounds. I see the most significant challenges today being our economy, jobs, and the lack of fiscal responsibility. We don't deal with those issues, we will render all other issues in this country moot, and I have experience to deal with those specific issues. That's what my background is, that's what my strengths are. The other thing that's really important about this race is beating Jim Matheson. And let me talk about this for just a moment. Jim Matheson comes to the Uinta Basin and he says, I have an energy background, vote for me, and he gets crossover votes because of that. I have an energy background, I can take away his conservative strength. He goes to our rural counties and he says, I have rural roots, vote for me. Our family still has a working ranch in Garfield County. I can take away that strength. And he comes to southern Utah, Iron and Washington counties, and he says, you know what? I have southern Utah roots, and I'll look out for you guys. And what happens is we get crossover votes. I'm really from southern Utah, and I can take away that strength. Let me talk about why that's so important. In the last election, we had John McCain got 75% of the votes outside of Salt Lake County. If we had the same margins John McCain got of 75% outside of Salt Lake County, we only need 31% in Salt Lake County to win. That is a winnable margin, and that's a winnable strategy to take the votes that are already conservative and get them to vote the way that they already stand. If we could get only 65% and still had crossovers, we can win in Salt Lake County with only 39% of the vote. That is a winnable strategy. To believe that the strategy for beating Jim Matheson is to come up with a majority in Salt Lake County is the most difficult strategy. It's not impossible, but it is the most difficult strategy. We've got to win the conservative votes where they exist today. The last thing about Jim Matheson, I think this is important. He has told us that he will moderate a liberal Democratic Party agenda. He has failed on public lands issues, he's failed on health care, and he's failed to ensure that the leadership of the Democratic Party is concerned and represents the interests of Utahns. As a leader among the Blue Dogs, he has the ability to generate enough support and enough votes to make that campaign promise a reality, and he has failed, and that's why I'm here today.
Experience in and of itself will never cut it. Otherwise, Strom Thurmond would be our choice. And again, the faculty of Harvard is who we would look to solve the problems of America. I'd pick the dog catcher over Jim Matheson. You mentioned who could stand. Every one of you could stand right now and you'd do a better job. We need, again, people of principle and commitment. This is not rocket science. It is the Constitution. A government which governs less, governs best. All it takes is voting no and understanding what the real problem in Washington, D.C. is. And that is understanding today what side of the line you are on and voting appropriately. Discerning every single time whether any given bill, whether it deals with law, finances, law enforcement, natural resources, is or is not constitutional and does not serve the proper role of the federal government. Now, how do you win? As a legislator, I won a swing district in the heart of Salt Lake County as the most conservative legislator in the state of Utah. That was considered impossible. Add to that the man who served before me was the Speaker of the House, had an affair on his wife, and left her to die with cancer. That was the problem we faced in Salt Lake County. Everyone said it will never go Republican again. It stayed Republican. We need to win in Salt Lake County. We've seen the numbers out of rural Utah. They will be good this year. You are alive. You are on fire. Have you been to a tea party in Washington County lately? We will have that vote. If we win Draper and Sandy and my old district, we don't just win or maybe lose by 1,000. We win by 8%. That's the key. That's the ticket to victory, and we have a unique opportunity at this moment to reclaim our destiny as a state, to lead this nation back to the Constitution. Normally, the good old boys line up for this seat. We don't have them this year. Do you know why? They were all too afraid to challenge the blue dog. They didn't understand that what you are doing now was real and was going to make the difference.